Channel 5.
From ABC, this is World News Tonight with Peter Jennings.
Good evening. We begin tonight with the President's annual acknowledgement of a constitutional requirement, Article 2, Section 3. The President shall from time to time give the Congress information of the State of the Union. It was pointed out to us this morning that most Americans today can feel exactly what the State of the Union is like. And even though the President's speechwriters have been slaving for a month, not many historians can remember very many memorable lines from State of the Union speeches past. Still, the Bush administration says tonight is the big one. It is, after all, intended to launch the President's re-election campaign. At the White House, ABC's Britt Hugh.
In a cabinet meeting this morning, the president was doing nothing to dampen expectations for his speech tonight.
It's going to be a good State of the Union address tonight. A bell ringer.
It's going to be all right.
Surprises.
Yes. All right, here we go. Hello, everybody.
In fact, despite the intense buildup the president has given the speech on the campaign trail and elsewhere, the address represents a decision basically to do nothing major on the economy. Mr. Bush has received almost unanimous advice from economists that the economy is likely to recover on its own, and if it doesn't, no legislation will be enough to fix it. What's more, he's been advised, an ambitious recovery program requiring the scrapping of last year's budget deal with Congress would risk driving up interest rates and aborting the best chance the economy has. So tonight's speech in the House chamber will not propose abandoning the spending restrictions agreed to with Congress last year to reduce the deficit. It will propose some tax cuts to be financed by cuts in defense spending. There will be proposed increases in some domestic programs, but they will be paid for largely by proposed cuts in other domestic programs. The president will demand that Congress act on his proposals by mid-March, a deadline that Congress is unlikely to either like or meet. But as one official here put it, this is a program that could pass, but if it doesn't, it's also a program we can run on. Britt Hume, ABC News, the White House.
So standing by with some comments as to how the Democrats might respond tonight, ABC's Cokie Roberts, who's up on Capitol Hill. What have they been saying to you, Cokie? Are they and the president going to reach another impasse here?
It looks like it. Some are coming back and saying all we're hearing from home is people saying do something, just stop fighting and do something. But others say, no, the thing for us to do is to show that George Bush is the person holding up domestic programs. So what we're going to do is put a health care plan on the president's desk and let him veto it. A parental leave plan on the president's desk and let him veto it, and do that with one program after another. They say they've been doing some polling that shows that Democrats should show up in bright colors, starkly different from the Republicans, not in shades of pastel.
Now, tomorrow comes the budget. Are they going to make any progress on getting together there?
Well, I think the place where you will see tremendous progress, surprise, surprise, in an election year is in cutting taxes. That's very popular, and that's likely to happen, and likely to happen relatively soon. But the rest of it will definitely be loggerheads for the rest of the year.
So in this season of political one-liners, what's the Democrats' campaign line?
Their campaign line is, we're the party that's most for people like you. Stick with us, throw out the guy in the White House. The problem is that people might prefer the other line of throw them all out, and let's get a new team that can do something.
Okay, Cokie Roberts on Capitol Hill. Thank you very much. We'll have more on the State of the Union speech, what Mr. Bush has to say about health care, the economy, aid to children, a little later in the broadcast. And then tonight at 9 Eastern Time, we will broadcast Mr. Bush's speech and the Democratic response live. Now we go on to the Clinton campaign. At several stops today talking about Jennifer Flowers, Governor Clinton denounced what he called trash for cash. And there appear to be quite a few people who agree. We remind you that until people actually vote, the polls are only an imprecise measurement of how people are feeling at any moment. We asked people all across the country last evening if they would vote for a candidate who had an extramarital affair. 26% said no. But our polling unit points out that at least half of those people who said no are Republicans and unlikely to vote for Governor Clinton anyway, at least in the primaries. ABC's Jim Wooten is in New Hampshire.
It wasn't just another day for the Clinton campaign in New Hampshire, not with this face staring out from the newsstands on the streets, even here in his own state headquarters.
Clinton for president, John here.
Still, when Clinton volunteers went door to door for the governor today, only a few voters showed any concern for the Jennifer Flowers issue.
From the Clinton for President campaign.
Clinton.
Where you plan on voting in February 10th?
I heard so
primary?
much about Clinton lately, I don't know.
Clinton's state director, Mitchell Schwartz, blames that on the media. He's not happy with reporters.
What should the press do? Well, responsible members of the press should let the story die. Jennifer Flyers is a liar. She's bought and paid for.
But Mr. Schwartz is happy with the latest New Hampshire poll from Manchester television station WMUR. It shows Clinton still leading his closest rival, Paul Tsongas, by 5 percentage points, with the rest of the Democrats far behind. And the ABC News poll shows that most Americans believe the media should drop the issue of adultery, which was exactly the point made by almost everybody in the luncheon crowd at the Back Room, a popular Manchester restaurant. They were much more concerned with Clinton's credibility than his personal life.
Doesn't matter to me a bit. It does matter if you would ask the question and he denied it and he really did do it. I mean, I think honesty is a big factor.
Yes, I wouldn't like to know that he was outright lying about something.
And that is the crux of Clinton's crisis. Most people here really don't seem to care much about his personal life, but they do care about his truthfulness. And on that single issue, not adultery, his campaign now seems to hang. Jim Wooten, ABC News, Manchester, New Hampshire.
Later in the broadcast this evening, why it is so lonely in Iowa this year. Some changes in the Middle East again. Israel and Arabs from the Gulf states meet in Moscow. And in just a moment, the trade friction with Japan. It could actually be bad for American business.
This is World News Tonight with Peter Jennings. Brought to you by AT&T.
Did you know the cost of 2 9-page fax transmissions from these Philadelphia newspapers to Chicago may surprise you?
I got an exclusive interview.
With AT&T Pro Watts, your business can't get a more accurate way to send a fax.
She talks a lot.
And our prices are extremely competitive. Even though the other company would like you to believe, they always save you lots of money.
Wait a minute. That's news to me. Can I quote you on that?
AT&T Pro Watts, another AT&T advantage.
I'm home. There you guys are. Hiya, honey. Oh, what's wrong? This is usually your favorite part of the day. Oh, bad headache. Let me help. I'll take the kids. You take a Motrin IB. The doctor says it's the same medicine as in prescription Motrin, but in non-prescription strength. Really works on my headaches. So go relax. I'll take care of Mr. Duck.
Motrin IB, the relief of Motrin in non-prescription strength.
The U.S. and Japan is a running story now. In Japan, a government spokesman said today that all the talk in the U.S. about buying American is just that, a lot of talk. Increasingly, Japanese business leaders are talking back. ABC's Bill Redeker is in Tokyo.
When Japan's Big Five automakers met Detroit's Big Three during the recent presidential visit, Nissan's Yutaka Kume said the two sides should meet every year. Now he bluntly says the Japanese have no intention of doing that, and he takes special offense at the remarks Chrysler's Lee Iacocca made when he returned to Detroit from Tokyo.
Japan has no use for free trade. It certainly has never practiced fair trade. No, what Japan practices is predatory trade.
Kume, who is also chairman of Japan's Automakers Association, says Iacocca is anti-Japanese, outrageous, and insulting. He says it is incomprehensible Detroit has not yet responded to Japan's offer to buy more American auto parts. The Japanese pledged to raise their targets of such imports to $19 billion worth by 1995. Automakers on both sides are on a collision course.
We're talking about 2 locomotives coming at each other like that.
The Japanese say Chrysler has aggravated the situation by announcing it will cut imports of Japanese steel by 25% this year and will stop buying imported steel altogether in 2 years.
I would guess that is more like a political gesture rather than real business decision.
And one that may not accomplish much. All of Japan's largest steel makers have joint ventures with American steel companies. So although Chrysler may buy steel manufactured in America, some of the profits will continue to end up in Japan. Bill Redeker, ABC News, Tokyo.
From Colorado tonight, another aspect of the trade story. While so much attention has been focused on American businesses that are having trouble competing in Japan, a lot of American companies have been quite successful in the Japanese market. And many of them now fear that all this Japan bashing is going to be bad for their business. ABC's Tom Foreman is in Denver.
At the Corp company, workers make artificial lungs used in heart surgery all over the world, including in Japan. This is one of more than 500 Colorado businesses that export to the Japanese and worry that the growing tension over trade will cause the Japanese to stop buying.
Yes, it does scare me, because I think you may get these artificial barriers put up to free trade.
The state of Colorado has gone out of its way to break down the barriers, to sell Colorado beef, grain, and manufactured goods to the Japanese. At the state's trade office in Tokyo, the emphasis is on finding markets for Colorado goods. Many other states only push for Japanese investments in America. The result? The Japanese buy $600 million worth of goods from Colorado each year.
The relationship between Colorado and Japan is very successful. There is no Japan bashing in Colorado, not at all.
Business relationships take a long time to build, and these kinds of political overtones, I think, can damage those relationships and hurt business.
3 years ago, Dick Shaw started marketing the children's furniture he makes to Japan. Now the Japanese account for 12% of his business and have allowed him to hire extra help. He believes other American companies should stop complaining and start competing.
Basically, you make it better, and you make the quality there, and you give them something they want, just like they're doing for us. It'll work itself out in the long run.
The bottom line is 10,000 workers are employed in Colorado making things which are sold in Japan. They are hoping all the pushing and shoving between the Japanese and Americans will not shove them out of a market it has taken years to build. Tom Foreman, ABC News, Denver.
And yes, St. Louis, we do have a clarification to make. We reported last night just how difficult it is to figure out which cars are really American-made. We said that Chrysler minivans are made in Canada. We should have said more than half are made in Canada. Others are produced at a Chrysler plant near St. Louis. On Wall Street today, the Dow Jones Industrials gained 31.5 points to close at 32.72, and the trading was heavy. In a moment, another barrier falls between Israel and the Arabs.
You really think naphtha can be replaced with a non-flammable solvent?
In 1929, she was the only woman and the only PhD chemist in a physics lab. But over the years, she was responsible for 29 different patents.
Hello, I'm Sylvia Stacer.
Dr. Stacer created a new career path for women and for her company. The same company that leads the nation in patents granted to women over the last decade. We think Dr. Stacer would be pleased.
Dow lets you do great things.
Good game, good friends. And now that I use Fixodent, I can tell the ref what I really think.
Fixodent and forget it.
Are you nuts?
Before I switched to Fixodent, Jones Peanut Crunchies only looked delicious.
Fixodent and forget it. Fixodent is the strongest holding denture adhesive you can get. It even stands up to the hottest liquids.
With my old adhesive, I'd never make a presentation and drink hot coffee at the same time.
For the strongest hold you can get. Fixodent and forget it.
What do you smell?
I can't smell anything. My nose is clogged, yeah.
For fast relief, try Dristan 12-hour nasal spray. Now smell.
It's an orange. Dristan nasal spray just works incredibly fast.
Dristan, the face of relief today.
Campbell's heard your healthy requests.
Low fat.
Less salt.
But lots of taste.
Here's our answer. New Campbell's Healthy Request ready-to-serve soups. All the great taste you want without some things you don't. New Campbell's Healthy Request. And healthy.
Overseas today, another round of talks regarding the Middle East. Today in Moscow, 3 of the 4 Arab delegations that took part in the previous rounds were not present. But the focus was on the new faces at the table. Here's ABC's John McCarthy.
Another historic barrier was overcome. Never before had the rich Arab states of the Persian Gulf sat down at a peace conference with Israel. It was a major victory for the Israelis because it provided the tacit recognition they have long sought from this group of Arab nations. This meeting was to begin a new phase of the peace process to explore regional issues such as water shortages, pollution, arms control, and economic development, issues that affect everyone.
For after all, they drink the same water, they breathe the same air, they are vulnerable to the same diseases, and all, in one way or another, have suffered from the very tragic costs of war.
Make progress here, Baker argued, and the one-on-one peace talks will be easier. The Japanese and Europeans were here to talk about paying for some of this, but getting all the key players into the room today proved impossible. Syria and Lebanon did not come, and at the last minute, the Palestinians, who had flown all the way to Moscow, refused to enter the building. They complained they were not allowed to bring an expanded delegation to the meeting, one that included Palestinians from outside the West Bank and Gaza.
We regret that the Palestinians are not here. They have chosen not to come, and in my view, they have once again passed up an important opportunity.
But even without them, a new dimension to the peace process was launched today, one that the U.S. hopes in the long run will add both pressure and incentives to keep old enemies talking. John McWethy, ABC News, Moscow.
In South Africa, a sign the government may get tough with the most militant of the white extremist groups. The leader of the country's largest such group, the Afrikaner resistance movement, was arrested today, along with 9 of his associates. They're charged with starting a riot last summer. They say there'll be more violence if the government agrees to share power with blacks. We'll be back in just a moment.
I was afraid to go to the doctor. I didn't want to hear that I might have an ulcer, but I just couldn't ignore my stomach. You can imagine how relieved I was when my doctor said Mylanta. He told me it wasn't an ulcer. It was indigestion. And indigestion like mine needed a strong medicine.
Mylanta is strong medicine, strongly recommended. In fact, Mylanta is the antacid doctors recommend most.
My doctor said Mylanta.
Royal Caribbean, paradise surrounds me. There's no place like this on land. All my cares, they're behind me. The world's in my command.
The most magnificent resorts on Earth are on water. Royal Caribbean, the grand resorts of the 7 seas.
Royal Caribbean.
Fleischmann's Margarine asks, what is good?
Oh, that's good. Real good. And that's very good. Fleischmann's. Of course, that's good. And with you, look at that. Oh, there you go. That's better than good. Oh, boy.
Fleischmann's Margarine. Have you been good to yourself today?
That's good.
Fleischmann's. Be good to yourself.
I've got the flu and I ache. But I don't take aspirin anymore, or Tylenol. I choose Advil. Advil stops my headache, reduces fever, and relieves the aches. Advil, advanced medicine for pain.
Imagine a rent-a-car company that offers special delivery right to your door. That's Enterprise.
Here, let me help you.
Enterprise, a special rent-a-car company that gives you special delivery.
Tonight on the American agenda, we're going to address some of the issues the American public would like to hear President Bush address in his State of the Union speech tonight. Healthcare, children, the economy, obviously. In last year's State of the Union, the president said, we will get this recession behind us soon. The recession is still very much here. As Britt Hugh mentioned earlier, the advice from the president tonight is likely to be economy heal thyself, with some exceptions. Here's ABC's Stephen Orr.
With the economy in the 18th month of recession, consumer confidence continues to sink. The Conference Board, a business research group, says only 19% of consumers believe conditions will get better in the next 6 months. But the president has decided not to go for a major change in tax rates to stimulate the economy. Rather, he's going to propose a number of modest cuts to help various segments of the economy, especially aimed at the middle class. Real estate. He would offer a $5,000 tax credit for first-time home buyers. The credit would be spread over 2 years for purchases after February 1st. Personal finance. The president would allow people to take money out of individual retirement accounts without penalty to buy a home. Also, the president would increase the tax exemption for each child by $500. Education. The president would make the interest on student loans tax deductible. Business. The president would increase by 15% the depreciation on machinery bought this year. That means businesses would be able to deduct a larger share of the cost of a new machine from their income. To encourage long-term investment, the president will call for a lower capital gains tax. The rate will depend on how long the investment is held. The lowest rate would be paid for investments held 3 years or more. Although the president figures the program may add 500,000 new jobs to the economy this year, congressional Democrats are bound to say it offers too little for the middle class and too much for the wealthy. Stephen Ogg, ABC News, Washington.
With all this talk about what to expect from the president, much of it inspired by the White House spokesman, Marlin Fitzwater, says, if the expectations are reasonable, the president will meet them. Now we turn to the issue of providing for America's children. The White House is promoting help for children as a centerpiece of tonight's address. Here's ABC's Carol Simpson.
In the face of criticism that he was unconcerned with domestic problems, President Bush has been spending more time highlighting children's issues. For example, his recent visit to a Head Start center in Baltimore, where he said he was making good a campaign promise to increase funding for Head Start. Tonight, Mr. Bush will request money for a variety of other existing health and welfare programs packaged under the umbrella of benefits for children. They include higher expenditures for childhood immunizations, more funding for programs to combat infant mortality. Mr. Bush will seek increased funding for WIC, the special supplemental food program for pregnant women, infants, and children, and additional funding for community health centers.
Can you give me a hug?
Administration sources say the president is asking for a $100 billion increase in spending for children's programs. But more than 80% of that money includes automatic increases in the cost of programs like Medicaid, Social Security, and public assistance. Child welfare advocates don't believe the president's programs will significantly improve the condition of America's children. They fear that since there are no new sources of revenue to pay for additional funding, the president will take money from other children's programs. Carol Simpson, ABC News, Washington.
And the country's been waiting for months to hear from President Bush on what he plans to do about the crisis in health care. Tonight, it appears the White House is not quite ready to speak its piece. Our medical correspondent is George Strait.
Mr. Bush is expected to mention health care reform in only general terms tonight. He'll say every American deserves care, it should be affordable, and it should be delivered efficiently. He will not announce a comprehensive plan because Mr. Bush's advisors told him the one he was considering would be political suicide. He will announce help for poor families. They would get $3,750 a year to buy health insurance. The problem, that is more money than someone who lives in a small town needs, and not enough for someone living in a city. Also, it would be a windfall for insurance companies, which could raise premiums to what the government was giving people to spend. Still being considered is help for small businesses. To offer insurance to their employees, the president was going to give tax incentives to those that join together and buy policies approved by the state. The problem? That would create 50 new large state bureaucracies. Finally, to cut costs, the president was going to offer discounts to Medicare recipients who enroll in health maintenance organizations. All of these proposals would cost more than $60 billion. To pay for some of it, the president was considering taking the politically risky step of taxing the Social Security benefits of wealthier elderly people. The president says his final proposals will be unveiled next week. Critics say they could have been ready for tonight's State of the Union if the administration had realized earlier that health care was a major concern for millions of Americans and potentially a make-or-break issue in the election. George Strait, ABC News, Washington.
President's State of the Union address, 9 o'clock Eastern Time this evening. We'll cover it live. Back in just a moment.
Cutbacks continue. Fine. Recession.
Daycare. No time.
You never needed it more. 1,000 milligrams of pain relief for today's headaches. Introducing new extra-strength Bayer Plus with Stomach Guard. For headaches, now there's no pain you can't bear.
You know, it's not something we talk about. But when Raymond gets...
Gets what?
Constipated.
What?
I give him Phillips milk with magnesia.
Put that away.
Phillips works overnight and immediately starts soothing the stomach acid Ray sometimes gets when he's feeling...
Oh, Marie.
Well, it's true, dear.
But you don't even know these people.
Oh, what people do to clean tough stains under the rim. Because for some bowl cleaners, that's a real stretch. Try a different angle. The angle neck of Lysol Toilet Bowl Cleaner. It easily goes under the rim and wipes out stains and germs. Don't get bent out of shape. Get Lysol Toilet Bowl Cleaner, the heavyweight with a powerful angle on cleaning.
This was me with dull gray hair. I looked washed up. Then I found a whole new way to make my gray look great.
Introducing a new kind of shampoo from the makers of Just for Men Hair Care called Great Looking Gray. Great Looking Gray does more than clean and condition. It gets rid of the dullness, even yellow buildup, brings out the real silver.
What a difference it makes.
New Great Looking Gray shampoo. And for stubborn yellow, new Great Looking Gray anti-yellow treatment.
Tonight on Nightline, White House Chief of Staff Samuel Skinner interacts with viewers from across the country as they react to the State of the Union address. Tonight.
Finally here this evening, presidential politics again. Trivia question. What's the first big political test in any presidential election year? Well, you would have been right 4 years ago if you'd said the Iowa caucuses, but this year there's no Republican challenge to the president in Iowa. And Senator Tom Harkin, running for the Democratic nomination, is from Iowa, which is why the other candidates virtually bypassed Iowa and went straight for New Hampshire. Which means that this year, ABC's Judy Muller is one of the very few reporters in Des Moines.
In 1988, presidential candidates were willing to do almost anything to win votes in the Iowa caucuses. In 1992, pigs are still plentiful, but candidates are scarce. In 1988, Richard Gephardt cultivated votes at a fertilizer plant in Perry. In 1992, only an oil stain marks the spot, and campaign bluster has been replaced by country blues.
Where are you now?
In 1988, a pancake breakfast in Cedar Rapids attracted a number of candidates, including Bruce Babbitt. In 1992, the only candidate who showed up was Bill Clinton on videotape. How did that make them feel?
Irritated and angry because they haven't given us a chance to take and evaluate them per se for themselves. Instead of they've sent us literature or taken and wrote us off as though we don't even count.
With all the candidates in New Hampshire, the Iowa caucuses are left out in the cold.
That means Iowans have lost the political clout and media attention they used to enjoy. Now the only media interest is in what's not happening.
Signs of what's not happening are everywhere, from car rental agencies to airplane charters to hotels.
Unforgettable.
The Savory Hotel Bar is a traditional watering hole during caucus season, when getting a seat is usually impossible.
I definitely wish Senator Harkin, the best of luck, but it's kind of tough sitting here at home thinking, gosh, personally as a bartender, how much money I'm going to lose.
Others hope Iowa will stage a comeback.
But I really believe that Iowa is the real heartbeat of America. And obviously, that's the place to start your presidential caucuses.
Looking ahead to the caucuses of '96 may seem cold comfort in '92, but in Iowa's political field of dreams, there is abiding faith in the notion that if you hold it, they will come. Judy Muller, ABC News, Des Moines.
That's our report on World News Tonight. I'm Peter Jennings. We'll be back at 9 Eastern Time with the President's State of the Union. Good night.
This has been a presentation of ABC News. More Americans get their news from ABC News than from any other source.
Tuesday.
To this year's starting right fielder for the Cleveland Indians.
It's the chance of a lifetime.
How long will it be till you get back?
But the price is high.
This is a big step, but you cannot let a chance like this go by.
Home front.
I'm gonna miss you too.
Tuesday at 10, 9 Central.
Hold the end of your string up, Joey. Joey, we're never going to get this done if you keep on eating the Kix.
Kix is a cereal that's low in sugar with a corn crunch that kids like. Kix also makes a great decoration.
So, how's it look? Delicious.
Kix, kid-tested, mother-approved.
Presenting the price of the year on basic cable installation, $19.92. Call your local Heritage office.
Let the games begin.
Tonight, which speller is the best speller?
I'm doomed. Doomed? The 2 O's or 2 M's? I have no idea.
Full House.
Then it's time for your family to know the truth about those party animals in Washington.
Watch this.
From the producers of Doogie Howser comes the new First Family of Fun.
And they said inbreeding was a mistake.
A special preview of